Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we're going to be making this Clam Up bag. It's a pattern by Annie and I will tell you it went together really quick and easy. I was really surprised. I figured it'd be a lot more fiddly than what it was, but it wasn't. It was pretty easy to put together. We're going to be using, this is some of my extra fabric. We're going to be using this fabric by Impwear. One of the things that I really liked about it when I saw it at Quilt Market was, number one, it's really light. Number two, it is vinyl coated so that it is waterproof. The other thing that I really liked about it is it's really pliable. So if you look at me moving it around here, you can see that it is really soft, it moves really easily, and it's lightweight. So I thought this would be great for this bag because we could line it and make the entire thing waterproof. The other thing that I like about it is washable, which makes it even better. So here we go, and I will show you how I went about making up the Clam Up pouches or Clam Up bags, whatever you want to call it, by Annie. I want to start by showing you how I went about cutting this out. I started first by creating a pattern out of a stiff interfacing. Anything that you've got to create the pattern would work great. You could use a spare file folder, whatever you've got around, okay? Then once I did that, to cut the soft and stable, I actually just pinned it right down to it. And you can see here I just carefully went around cutting it, you know, just the normal way. I was able to mostly use scraps for this project, which I thought was really great. It was a good way to use up the extra pieces that I had around. So this is how I cut it out. And then next I will show you how I did go about cutting out the actual material. Because the material is a vinyl coated, water resistant material, it was a little bit more difficult to cut out because I obviously couldn't pin it because that would put holes in it. So in just a second, I'm going to start showing you how I went about doing that. To cut out the material, I started out by lining points of the pattern out as close to the edges as I possibly could. Once I got it to the point that I felt I was comfortable with it, I did put Wonder clips on it. I did end up having to move them so that I was able to really grab onto the material to cut it nicely. So you can see here I am using a Wonder clip. I'm actually going to put a couple on it. And then I'm going to start by cutting out the fabric. Just used regular scissors. It was extremely easy to cut, but again, it was important that I not stick pins through it because that would obviously put holes in it. Then once I got this part done and I needed to start doing the curve, what I did was I very carefully held it down with my hand and just very slowly worked through the curve of the pattern. Wasn't difficult, was just something that I really needed to take my time with. And you can see here I'm just cleaning up the edge so that it is lined up as well as it possibly can be. So next you can see me just going around the curve of the piece to be able to cut it as close to the pattern as possible. The other thing that you might try to do is use your rotary cutter and a ruler, and by doing that what you would need to do is slowly make adjustments to the ruler as you go around. You can see it took me a minute to figure out which way was the easiest way to cut this. I did end up cutting on the next one, I think it is, a rectangle out and then just trimming from the rectangle. That was a little bit easier because then I could use this motion to cut it, and I found this one, which you're going to see in just a second, to be the easiest. I just held my hand on the pattern so that it didn't move and just carefully went around the edges. So my suggestion to you will be to cut out a rectangle slightly bigger than your pattern piece and go from there. Some of you may not realize it, but Soft and Stable also comes in black. So on a project like this where you really can't see through the material, it's a great time to use that. Another time when you might use it is just when you do have an extremely dark fabric and you don't want anything white kind of showing through. So I'm gonna take my one side of my fabric, because we've already cut those all out. I'm gonna put it on one side, I'm gonna flip it over, and then I'm gonna put the second one on. The next thing that I'm gonna do is grab my Wonder Clips. On a project like this, the Wonder Clips really do come in handy. These are one of the little notions that really make this project a lot easier. So what I'm gonna do is start off by putting some clips whoop, I got a bunch of stuff in there, randomly around, just gonna clip it together. And then as following the directions, I'm going to stitch all the way around the outside. That's not a step that you want to skip over. The reason for it is what happens is it adheres all of the sides together. And I'll show you one of the ones that I've already stitched so that you can see. This one I've already stitched, and you can see it just keeps it nice and stable and together. So what you're gonna wanna do is make certain that you do not skip this step. It's an important one. I will actually show you how I stitch it. And if you do have a walking foot, now's a really good time to pull it out and start using it. I'm just randomly going around, clipping all 3 layers together. And then, like I said, as I stitch around it, I will for certain be moving these, and at the same time, I just kind of keep everything all smoothed down so that there aren't any puckers in it, because I want it nice and smooth. All right, so I'm going to now go over to my sewing machine and stitch this, and I'll let you watch. The next thing that has to happen is with Soft and Stable, if you stitch a line, what happens is it remembers and knows that that's where it's supposed to fold. So what we need to do is we need to create this bottom of our pouches. And you maybe can see right here I've got a little stitch line. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my ruler, and on my directions, I actually had done a line on my pattern. I drawn the line. So now what I'm gonna do is just transfer it over onto my case itself. So I'm gonna take my marker, this is a Clover marker, and I'm just gonna draw that line with this white chalk right across here. And I'll do it twice. And then you can see my line. I'm gonna flip this around, and then I'm gonna do it again. Then what I'm gonna do is just take this right to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to stitch on that line. And that line just simply tells me that's where I want my bag to fold. Okay, so you see this little tab on the bottom, that's to kind of like grab your bag. Well, to me, when I made this first one, that's kind of small for me. So what I did was I used the piece that she had in the instructions for this tab, this thing. that's what I'm using mine. That's the piece I'm using for it. It's the latch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it up that size. And then once I get it on the bag, then I can attach it based on what size I think it needs to be for the bag. So following the directions, I'm gonna make this part. Then I'll come back and show you how I'm gonna determine it. I've made my tab and now I'm just laying it down on the piece to see how big I want it to be. And you can see I just make adjustments. Then I use a Wonder Clip to hold it down. And then once I've used the Wonder Clip to hold it down, I will just take it over to my machine and top stitch it so that it is the size I want it. These two pieces right here are the inside. They end up on the inside of your bag, and what happens is when you open your bag, it makes sure that items stay right in there. So what I've done is I've aligned them to the bottom of my bag. And you can see I've aligned them at the bottom. So we've got little pieces sticking out. That's just fine because we're going to trim that when we trim our zipper tape. Well, we're going to trim that when we trim underneath our zipper tape. I have purposely put the Wonder Clip so that the flat side is at the bottom because what we're going to do is we're going to stitch right here where we've already stitched before to put our zipper down. So I'm just going to put this right under my presser foot. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'll come back and I'm going to show you how I trim the inside of this. So this is all ready to go. I'm going to stitch on that line. Then I'm going to attach it to the other side, this side, the same way. And then I'll come back and show you how we're going to trim this so that we can use the rest of that zipper tape to hide all of our stitching in our raw fabric. Okay, you can see, I'm going to clip a couple threads here, hang on. You can see that I've got my bag, I've got my little pieces sewn on, okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to clip this excess so that when I sew my zipper tape down, all of this is gone. So what I do is I just take my scissors, and these are my utility scissors, just because I'm going through so much stuff here. And I just butt it right up to the edge, and I just, holding my finger between the zipper tape and the fabric, I just clip. And I'm going to go all the way around the bag, or the zipper tape, doing that. And this is one of the reasons why I like the By Annie zippers so much. I know that they're a little bit more expensive, but the fact that this zipper tape is so much wider, it gives me the ability to take my bag and make certain that what I'm making looks as nice on the inside as it does on the outside. And to me, that's important because I want my bags to look just as nice on the inside as I do on the outside, especially when they're a gift to somebody. I think it's really nice when they're finished off like that. So I have trimmed all the way around. I'm going to go back and double check and make sure that I can see my zipper tape, and I can all but right here. I've got one little section that I need to trim a little tighter. So I'm going to trim that. All right. And now I'm going to trim this just a little bit more too, just to make sure I'm plenty close. You know, I've been careful not to snip my seams down here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Wonder Clips. And this time I found that using the bigger ones just worked out a little bit easier. So I'm going to take my big ones, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the tape, and I'm just going to fold it over like this. And I'm going to take my clip and just clip it right on. And I will do this all the way around the bag. Then once I've done that, I'm going to come in and I'm going to top stitch. When I top stitch, I'm going to top stitch right here on the edge. And what that's going to do is that's going to affix the zipper tape down so that on the inside you can't see any of my raw edges. I'll come back once that's done and show you the inside. I wanted to give you a really close-up view on how I use my stiletto when sewing this zipper part down, because the stiletto does a huge part of the job for me and really makes it so that the edges are nicely finished. So what I do is I just take the point of the stiletto and I just come out a little bit beyond the presser foot. Actually, I'm inside of the presser foot, but not where the needle is. And I just very slowly stitch. And then if I get a spot that it's lifted, just take the presser or the stiletto and I just push it down, and it takes it right down and lays it nice and flat so that I don't have to really worry about it. So here I go, just slowly going around this corner. I don't sew this part very fast. I really do take my time because I think it means a lot that I think it looks really nice when these edges are finished off nicely. So I'm just going to keep right on going, just holding it down with the stiletto. And here it comes. And then I'll take a couple back stitches at the end. And that part of the zipper's done. So I'll lift my presser foot and pull it off. Clip my threads. And there you can see it on one side. And then I'll turn it over. Now you can see it on the other side. So it really does look nice, I think. I think it makes a big difference. So I'm going to do my second side. And we are really almost done with the bag, and I'll come back and show it to you. It's time to close up the bottom of our bag. So I have turned it wrong side out, and now we're going to work at the base. I'm going to take my zipper and pull my zipper out. So now my zipper's out. Then I'm going to zip it up just a little bit so it's tucked inside of there. And I'm just going to take the little side placket, or however you want to pronounce it, and I'm gonna fold it down, kind of centered. See how I kind of got it centered right? Let me move it over because I don't think I quite, there, right about that. A little bit centered there. Just gonna fold this down just like this. All right, I'm gonna put a couple of clips in it. And then what I will be doing is I'm just going to straight stitch right across here. Just a simple straight stitch. I'm going to do that across both my ends. Trying to keep this in camera view for you. And then once I've done that, what I will be doing is making my binding to cover this over. I am going to trim my zipper right down as close as I possibly can, so that it doesn't get in the way of my binding that's going to go across here. Okay, so our bags are almost done. I'll be back once I've sewn this down, and I'll show you how I'm going to bind it. All right, so I've got my binding. I'm going to fold it in half, and then what I'm going to do, and now I'll do it this way. So now I'm going to work on my bindings. I'm going to fold it in half to begin with. Then I'm just going to take a wonder clip and kind of stick it right here at the end. I'm going to do the other side too. And I'm just folding it over maybe, it's under a quarter. It's not much. So I'm going to stick a wonder clip there. And that, whoops, then without dropping it, I'm going to pick up these two ends, fold it in half, and put the clip back on. Do it the same thing over here. Fold it in half. Put the clip back on. All right, so now I've got my binding. Next thing I'm going to do is take my bag. Whoops, I'll come down here. Take my bag, and I'm just going to lay my binding right across it here, okay? And then I will take 2 of my bigger clips, or 1 of my bigger clips, maybe 2. And I'm just gonna grab it and attach it, okay? All right, so now I've got it sewn down. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just take it and flip it around like this. And if there's any ends sticking out, I'll take my stiletto and just kind of push them in. So I'll just take them like this, push them in. Then I'm going to put a wonder clip there to hold it nicely together for me. Oh, kind of hard to do things with too many things in my hands. And then I'll take this end and do the exact same thing. Then I'll be able to just top stitch it right down through here. This will roll a little bit better. There we go. And then I will actually be done with this bag. So off I go. So I want to show you at the very end what I did was I did both ends of my bag and I put just little pieces of binding on, and you can see that they are on there. Then we just go and turn it right side out. One of the nice things about that little binding on the end is made it really easy to turn right side out. So there I go. And then that's it. There is our little clam. This is actually the extra large Clam Up bag. So I'm going to zip this one up for you. And then I'll show you the extra large versus the large. So here's the extra large and here is the large. Goes all the way down to a little teeny tiny one. This is your extra small one. I'll hold it up against the back so that you can really see it. On this one, you'll notice that it's not as stable, or it's got like this little crinkly to it. The reason being, on the very little one, I actually put batting in this one because I wanted to see how I like it. Honestly, I liked it better with the soft and stable in it, only because if you look at this bag, you can see that it's got a lot more stability and it's not going to lose its form. Whereas this bag, once it gets stuff in it, if I zip it up, if it ends up in a bag, it's going to very easily get crushed. So although you could put a lightweight batting in it, I will tell you that I like the soft and stable a lot better. So that is how we went about making up the Clam Up bag by Annie. I do have kits available on my website for these bags, which includes this vinyl material. And you can also pick up the zippers and you can pick up the soft and stable. So they are all out there on my website. I'll put a link below for you if you'd like to go out and get a set. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, please do pop over to our Facebook group and join in. We have an awful lot of fun over there showing off what we're making. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do. And if you have any other quilting friends that enjoy quilting, direct them on over to my channel so that they can become a part of our group. Thanks again, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.